Hello guys, welcome back to Comic Book Cafe, and this time around we're reviewing Spawn issue 253. Now of course, Spawn has gone back to Al Simmons being back, the original Spawn being back to Spawn again. And this was a very interesting comic book. This was filling in some of Al Simmons' past, his life story, his dynamic with his father, because in the beginning of this book we open up with a man in the hospital with terminal cancer, and you find out that it's Bernard Simmons, which is Al Simmons' father. And as they say, we're going to contact your wife. As this all happens, nurse disappears, and then Spawn walks in the door, and he can't really see who it is, obviously because he's in real bad shape. And he's on floor, and he goes, "Hello, Dad," and he says, I think Mark, his brother's name, and he says, "No, not Mark. It's your other son, the one you don't care about." And he said, "Al, that you?" And his dad doesn't understand what's going on. He tells his dad to look back, and he sees himself in the bed, because Spawn's trying to guide his dad's soul to where it needs to go. Because someone's trying it not to get there because they're trying to get to Spawn. And Spawn knows this. So Spawn is interfering. The interesting thing to this whole book is how much Al Simmons, how much he hates his father but doesn't want to admit he hates his father for what he did in his life. But at the same time cares enough to save his soul, even though he doesn't want to admit it. So after they walk to the hospital, there are people who are trying to get you. You gotta be careful. And these demons show up, and of course, Spawn dispatches them. And his father's like, "What's happened to you? What have you become? Where you been?" Because he's been dead for a long, while now, and and they go through their dynamic. It's a great issue because they go through their dynamic. I mean, his whole family balance, not just him, his father, his mother, a little bit of his brother involved, where you see that his dad was not a good dad, and his mom was an alcoholic. His dad was doing whatever whatever he was in the mood of doing, and so Al was kind of neglected. Like, he didn't really have, obviously, a really caring family. And so you see how much he doesn't like his dad for that, even though he says he doesn't care, he does. And so he's progressing through the bad guys, obviously as they go through certain points, they get to like this city place, and they look like looking Grim Reapers, and he dispatches them. And there's what Belial, I think his name is Blial, shows up, and his father's like, "Who's this guy, the devil?" He's like, "No, I'm not the devil. Think of me as the president, and you don't ever want to see the chairman," which is of course the devil. And he tells Al, I want him, and you're going to hand him over to me. And, Al gives him real attitude. Spawn gives him a real big attitude. He doesn't like, so he kind of destroys all the stuff on top of Spawn and grabs his dad. And he goes, "Maybe the reason why, your son says he doesn't care because ultimately you're going to be mine, and that you're a high commodity, and, I got plans for you." And Spawn, busts out, and he goes, "Well, what do I have? What am I holding, this sword?" And he goes, "That's God's sword. God, we made a deal. God wasn't supposed to interfere." And he goes, "This isn't over," and he disappears. And then they get to the point where, the fixed point where his father's supposed to go before this interference was happening. And it was basically to step into the light for his judgment, where he's supposed to be, his judgment. And they're sitting there, and he goes, "You need to go in the light. I can't protect you. If you don't go in the light, I won't be here to protect you." And, at the end he says, "Even though I was a bad dad, I always loved you, even though I didn't try," and he tells him it's like it's too late, and he goes, "I love you, son, goodbye." He goes in light, and Spawn says, "Goodbye, Dad," and that's how they ended. It showed that he did care, even though he claimed he didn't. It's a really good comic book. You want to see, like, again, Al Simmons and his father's relationship and his family, because they do show his mother. His father's trying to say that, his mother, is going to be upset that he's gone, and I was like, "No, your mom." Spawn's like, "No, my mother is at the bar drinking. She used the excuse to go getting you something to be drinking, and when you die, she's going to use it as another excuse because she wasn't there to drink some more." So you see the messed up family dynamic. But again, a really good book. Actually, the story is really good. Of course, awesome artwork like always. And so this was a really good book if you like the original Spawn and you want to see the dynamic between his father and of course what are the repercussions of him running into Beale, and now that he knows, which of course the devil will know, that Spawn has God's sword, and now they know that God, you know, has kind of reneged on that agreement they made. How is that going to progress everything further? Now, if you read Spawn 253, what do you think about it? Did you like it? And I like it again. It was a good story about, you know, him and his father. If you know, want to learn more of that. And the old book, he kept claiming he didn't care about his father, but clearly he did, or else he wouldn't have fought everything to get him to the point he needed to get to him. So, what do you think of it? Do you like the way they brought, you know, so far, like the way the run they have with Al Simmons back? Or did you like this issue, you know, about him and his father? Love to hear your guys' comments like always. Again, this is one of those books, like unlike a lot of other books, where you can actually, if you never read a Spawn book before, this is one where you can actually read it, and you don't need to know any history in this issue, because it's him and his father that you don't need to know, you know, like, you clearly reading, you know, this is Spawn, and Spawn's Al Simmons, you know these other people are involved, and it's hell, but you really, this is not one of those books where you need to know a lot. There's not a lot much here except for him and his father, and then the guys he runs into. Well, a really enjoyable story, and let me hear your guys' comments like always, and I'll make another video soon. Later.